Yo, okay, so this is BZ Bones. Today we're gonna be doing our first I Yap and Play while you sleep. So first of all, anything to be talking about just gonna be very random, very candid of me. It's just gonna be the real me, no filter. Maybe wrong with a lot of things, but something that I'm aware of is very transparent. I'm very transparent when it comes to thoughts, ideas, and something that I really think that could possibly get my butt in trouble for the most part. But yeah, if this is something that you'd like to keep watching, I'll keep doing it. First, we're gonna be playing a new game that I got. I do like relaxing games. Just really quick, title's Moldwasher. Cool. So with that, premise of it's pretty much very simple. Go through these levels, you clean whatever you see here with your little power washer. But then again, per level, it does change depending on the requirements. So sometimes I won't be cleaning. Sometimes I'll just be blowing little particles of food away. Yada yada yada. Pretty much very similar to whatever power wash simulator was. In terms of just being, casual, easy game where you can just chill, take your mind off of, all the stressful things in life. So yeah, whoever's watching this right now, how are you? Don't know if you're having a bad day or a good day, but whatever it is, I hope that you find some way to ease your mind. I know nowadays life isn't as simple, isn't as great, how the economy is, and sometimes you just gotta find some way to unwind, relax, just get away from all the stress. For me, it's always been games. It could be games, it could be playing with my dogs, watching YouTube videos or anime, lots of things. Even make music. I do make my own music, but I don't usually finish them. That's a horrible habit of mine. I like writing a lot of music, but never really finishing it. I guess a lot of it stems from just losing ideas so quick. My mind feels like changes like whatever my needs are and wants in like seconds. And funny enough, I got a lot of friends who are very deep into horoscopes and signs. They did tell me, oh, the Gemini really is like that. They tend to get bored with things really quick and switch to something else different. To me, that's really hilarious because it is pretty much me. I tend to start a lot of things, and next thing you know, I seem to just randomly drop them midway or halfway. I just begin to kind of lose interest in it. Maybe I just want something new all the time. I mean, of course, that sounds really, sad. Sounds really disappointing, but it doesn't really apply to everything. There are things that I am really passionate about that I really want to keep doing, and I still, do. Like number one would be video games. Video games have been a huge part of my life. Yes, in my family, video games were a thing. Because I remember the first handheld, or the first console I had was handheld. It was actually the Sega Game Gear. It wasn't really mine. It was the family's Game Gear. I think it was my sister's, my eldest sister's. I have two sisters. I think it was my eldest sister's Game Gear, and along the way, being the youngest, you get all the hand-me-downs, of course. And ever since then, I fell in love with video games. And one of the things I played back then was Power Rangers, because I love the Power Rangers. Power Rangers was my life. I think if you could ask any of my friends, my childhood friends, they know how much I love Power Rangers. I think for the most part, every time my parents asked me what I wanted for Christmas for my birthday, it was something always Power Rangers. It was either that action figure that changed the faces, like the helmets you press on the belt, whether it be the actual Zords. That's what I call it, the Zords. And to me, I think just the idea of someone, like a normal person, changing into something more powerful and then saving the world was, I guess, valiant. Really cool. Very superhero-like. And the cool thing about it was the fact that, they were just regular teens, randomly chosen by some big alien head to save the world. Ask yourself, they're just regular people. Like, they don't have superpowers, they don't have anything else. But then again, they do get like morphers. They turn into these mass crusaders, and you're like, you can't help but be fascinated by it because you transform into something else or into someone else, like a more powerful version of you, with a mask, cool robots, cool weapons, and a whole team to help you out with a bunch of shit. And I thought to myself, dang, that's actually pretty cool. For the longest time, when I was a child, really believed in the Power Rangers. And I thought that I could actually morph and grow up and become a Power Ranger. But, it's one of those Santa talks that I had to get where parents told me, oh, they're not real, it's just a show, blah, blah, blah. Being a kid, you always have such an imagination, believe in things, and you just wish these things were true. But yeah, sometimes you gotta learn the hard way. But I appreciate the fact that you did, or you were once passionate about a show. You thought that it was real. You could become one of the characters, or like one of the characters itself. Yeah. Other than that, I guess if we're gonna be talking about the video games, me liking video games in general, I think the time where I got my PlayStation 1 was the happiest day of my life, just because the idea of moving from 2D to 3D was the coolest thing ever in my head. Thought it was revolutionary. And the fact that the first game I played was Crash Bandicoot, and instead of the usual left to right side scroller type of game I used to play on my Game Gear and my Super Nintendo. Oh yeah, I also had a Super Nintendo. I thought it was super fascinating just seeing something like a character move like a 3D space now. Sideways, instead of side scrolling left to right, now move up, down, left, right, and just 3D full motion. That always interested me. Ever since then, after I got my PlayStation, I thought to myself, dang, this couldn't get any better. And was I wrong when all the other consoles came out? And my love for video games isn't just because of playing them for the sake of having fun, but a huge part of it as well was the music in it. Like, I guess a lot of the times whenever I hear certain songs from bands, artists, rappers, anything, it still reference a lot from like the video games. Especially a lot of people do this, but when people hear certain bands or certain music, they usually would reference Tony Hawk, Grand Theft Auto, just any of those games you used to play as a kid. And it's funny how they have a reputation of being that band or that artist from that game, and it's pretty evident in on YouTube as well. Whenever you look up certain artists or certain songs from artists or bands, a lot of people start commenting, "Hey, that's from insert game here," and that's what they'll always be known for. To me, it's both a good thing and a bad thing. Good thing is that that band or the artist was discovered by these people who played these video games, and yeah, they're able to listen to and actually appreciate the music that they make. But at the same time, it's kind of like having the reputation of being a one-hit wonder instead on video games. Like are they always just going to be known to be a band or an artist from that one video game and nothing else? And I guess that's the only sad part of it. But me, I think the idea of them being discovered is still the greatest thing ever. Because without video games, without the exposure itself to the video games, they wouldn't have that kind of attention. There will always be somewhat of maybe an obscure piece of media, but with the exposure, they're a part of history now. Which is something that I really appreciate about video games. Not only do they promote the music or promote these musicians that put their work in their games, but also puts them in like the spotlight or the limelight to where others who might not be into video games but stumble upon them on video games might give him more attention and give him even more traction, where it's to become universal. So yeah, so both my love for video games, love for music, it's all from my childhood. I was always, I guess when it comes to music, I guess we can switch to music first. I was always an R&B pop guy, so I was really into Michael Jackson, Backstreet Boys, us. Very, very, very into Stevie Wonder as well. A lot of it has to do with my grandparents, my dad. They collected a lot of vinyls, tapes, and I keep forgetting. I think they had like those. Oh no, those were vinyls. So yeah, VHS tapes of like music videos and all that. Because my dad used to own a rental store or video rental store. That was probably the coolest thing ever. And he did have some musicals and a couple of music videos. And I still, up to this day, I still don't know who, where he gets those from. All I know is that, hey, he gets them. That's what matters. And yeah, growing up, my sisters also love music. My eldest is a trained musician. I guess piano to be exact, classical piano. And my second, the middle child, is a trained singer, vocalist. Let's just say singer. A nicer way of putting it. And with that leads me to being somewhere stuck in the middle, because I was never really trained in terms of music. Everything was self-taught. I taught myself how to play the guitar, piano, and pretty much it. Like, I never had the chance, never really had the patience to, I guess, go take classes. But it's fine. I think there's a certain charm to being self-taught, and a lot of people are actually more impressed with the idea that that I'm self-taught. And I think when you're self-taught, you're less constrained when it comes to the idea of music theory, because I think a lot of people, whenever they get stuck with music theory, I mean, it's great that you have knowledge about chords, what else? All these things, they're very deep when it comes to like writing. They don't, at least being self-taught gives you more like a broader perspective of music. Like you can write whatever you want, not feel goopy about it. Goopy. Not feel weird about it. Because you make your own music, whatever sounds good in your ear. So yeah, that's me. Not a classically trained musician, artist, or whatever. But I do appreciate music. Really, really appreciate it. And with that upbringing, of course, me being introduced to R&B, pop in such an early age. Of course, not the genre is not everyone's cup of tea. Of course, some people within my family would listen to just ballad, like my mom. Mom loves ballad. Oh, well, she does love soul. Loves Whitney Houston. Who else? Bette Midler. All those really classic artists. Aretha Franklin. Caroline. I think it's Caroline King or Carole King, if I remember correctly. But yeah. And my dad's more of a Americana, country folk guy. So the likes of James Taylor, who else? Hills and Crofts, all those oldies, Eagle, America, all the good stuff. Yeah, it's all from my dad. And then my sisters were the ones who loved R&B and hip hop. So a lot of time when with them, I'd usually listen to Blackstreet, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, and who else? And Brandy. That's another artist who I love. WV. List goes on. And it wasn't until my uncle, which is my auntie's. So my auntie is my dad's sister, and her husband, my uncle, he is a metalhead, or a rocker to be exact. And with that, something that I really appreciated was the fact that he showed me rock, metal, or 80s, like hair metal and all that. So of course, that expanded my interest in music in general. And first rock band that he introduced me to was Van Halen. And to me, Van Halen, first time hearing Van Halen was amazing. I've never heard anyone play the guitar like Van Halen, and it was the most insane thing I've ever heard. It sounded almost like to me, it almost sounded futuristic in essence. But then, that was me not knowing how to play an instrument, not knowing it was like not knowing, what arpeggios were, hammer-ons, and pull-offs and all that. And yeah, that pretty much helped, me in regards to appreciating music in a broader perspective, not just being a pop R&B guy, but just being overall like a really like it's flexible or being a very open-minded musician. And yeah, so that's me in my music. I'll get more about, I can get deeper in regards to music. But right now, I guess we can go back to the video game since we are playing a video game. So video games, of course, what I grew up really enjoying. This is pretty funny because I really, really, really am a huge fan of Resident Evil. That's always gonna be my favorite IP. So if you ever ask me, like, hey, like, what game would you play if you could play just one game until you die? What would it be? For me, it'll always be any of the Resident Evil games, but more specifically, Resident Evil 2. The reason for that is Resident Evil 2 was groundbreaking for me. And growing up, I was a scaredy cat. Crazy scaredy cat. As in, anything would scare me. Water, deep water. What else? The dark. Cockroaches. I mean, I think everyone's scared of cockroaches, but now I'm not. I don't really care about cockroaches. I just don't care much for them. A lot of things scared me, and being exposed to Resident Evil 2 was both a great and a horrible thing. Well, we can start with horrible, because horrible. The reason why I say horrible is because I was a child, and being exposed to all that blood and gore and all those monsters at a young age was definitely not something that you want to experience growing up. But it did help me appreciate horror as a genre, and it's it's something that I'm always thankful for. I'm always grateful for, because if my dad never introduced me to Resident Evil, then I probably wouldn't be this big of a fan and this passionate about horror movies and horror games in general. And for me, being able to beat Resident Evil 2 at a young age, it gave me that weird, sense of fulfillment that I, as a known scaredy cat, was able to beat a scary game on my own without any help from my dad or anyone else, which was really cool. And I think another challenge for me back then with Resident Evil 2 was the fact that, as a kid, you're only used to, up, down, left, right, the simple controls, jump, shoot with one button. But this one, you're faced with tank controls. With tank controls, that's something else that's unique. You can only walk or move forward when you press up. But if you want to turn left or right, you can't just press left or right. You have to turn towards that direction first, like a tank. That's the tank control. So yeah, that's something else. And for you to aim your gun, you gotta hold, what is it, R1 or R2, then press the square or X button. I keep forgetting. It's been a while. And to me, having all these button combinations was so different and challenging at the same time that it helped me kind of appreciate the thought the people or these developers would put into these games. And yeah, it gave me such a huge appreciation for the people that worked hard to make these games that that I grew up appreciating a lot. And I guess over time you kind of expect same quality from these developers, and you can't help but give them the full support, just because you know that they are or were, I'd say are, a huge part of your childhood growing up. So yeah. And then, of course, I wanted something different from Resident Evil as well. So I was introduced to the Final Fantasy series. And of course, everyone's gonna be asking, so what was the first Final Fantasy game you played? For me, the first Final Fantasy game I played was 7. And you're gonna ask me if it was my favorite? No, it's not my favorite. Do I think it's great? Sure, I think it's great. Do I think it's overrated? Kinda, but you know, I can't hate it. Because it was still a huge part of my childhood. It was one of the first demos that I got. Yeah, being able to play Final Fantasy 7, seeing these tiny characters fight, seeing them summon monsters and all that. It's pretty cool. But I think the one that really stood out to me the most, 100%, will always be Final Fantasy VIII. And I know a lot of people give flack. You know, a lot of people hate it, or a lot of people make fun of the idea of the junction system and the story. To me, it was perfect. I thought that, you know, having like a more realistic character or main character who isn't like, oh, so heroic and so happy, you know, happy-go-lucky, someone who's just righteous. You know, Squall was realistic. He was angsty. He was a teen. He was angsty. He was just normal. Like, you can connect with him. Like, just there's just a lot of things that you just don't care about, and people want you to care about. And he's just that guy who goes, nah, that ain't my thing. And that's what, you know, that's what I liked about him the most. He wasn't the type of guy to go, hey, I'm gonna rush, you know, head first into the battle and try to rescue this person, blah 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 blah. No, he's like, yeah, I don't want to be bothered with that unless I have to. He's that type of person that you can't help but appreciate. So yeah. And of course, with that, I wasn't able to finish Final Fantasy VIII growing up, just because of how convoluted the junction system was when I was a child. But soon, you know, I was able to appreciate it. I gave it a couple more years for me to understand what the junction system was and how to, you know, how the game was supposed to be played. And next thing you know, I was able to finish it, I think, around like the 4th or 5th grade. And yeah, it was a huge achievement for me, knowing how to play it at a later age. But, you know, it worked, so. And I think at that point, I played a lot of, you know, unique games. Tekken was another one. Tekken 3. Well, Tekken 2 was my first. Then Tekken 3 was like the defining one. I maybe appreciate the fighting genre, or the fighter genre. And I think another game that really stood out to me was Tony Hawk. There you go. Tony Hawk Pro Skater, because everyone used to kind of not give a shit or not care too much about skateboarding until Tony Hawk made it really popular. And not only was it so amazing, just the idea of having like a really good soundtrack with fun gameplay, it was groundbreaking. A lot of people appreciated it, and a lot of people got to know. Uh, I guess they got to expand their taste in music thanks to Tony Hawk, and they got to. Uh, they were introduced to these bands that they weren't even aware of, which was really cool. And that gave me an appreciation for punk pop as well, and a little bit more of like hip hop and as well. And to me, I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. And yeah, and with that, I think it comes to that point where, like I said, music and video games go along together, and without video games as well, music. I mean, without music, video games won't be as successful as they would be without the music that's in it, and that's what makes it so, you know, so cool in the first place. So yeah, Tony Hawk, another great game. Then I guess I started veering towards not just PlayStation games. I started getting these magazines, these PC World magazines, or I keep forgetting which magazines. It showed like a lot of games they could get for your PC, and I thought, PlayStation was like the only system, or the Nintendo was like the only video game console out there, but apparently you can also play games on your computer. And I remember having a family computer, and a huge thing that we did have was the fact that it had this was like back when internet was still in its infantile stage, where we had to get like the CDs or the cards or whatever it is to use the internet, and it was really funny. And it wasn't until I discovered this game called The Sims, and the only way I was able to discover it is through that magazine that I had, or that we had, and also word of mouth. There's a couple of friends from my school that talk about The Sims, and got really curious as to what it was. And at first I thought it was really silly, because it was almost like I would say a dollhouse type of game. I thought it was just like a little, sure, I guess I thought it was like a dollhouse game. Then it was a lot deeper than that. I think the idea of being God, or being something like God, was so interesting to me. You can control these people, or you can create people, you can control these people, and at the same time also build houses and watch them interact with the house that you made for them, and the furniture and how you arrange them. Just seeing them interact with life in general was really, really interesting. See how they handle stress, watch them work, watch them earn money, get into fights. What else? Find the love of their lives, and just all these things. Watching characters from a video game actually live a normal, regular life instead of something fantastical like Resident Evil or Final Fantasy. Just being normal. That was something I really appreciate about Sims. Kind of just going back to the old, to the roots of being real. And yeah, ever since then, after playing, the first Sims, I fell in love with it. And I thought to myself, it's like creating your own story, or your stories through like a different kind of, through like a different character. Instead of just you have these people that you create in your mind. And you basically shape their lives and how they're gonna live it moving forward under your control. I thought that was really interesting to me. And of course, it went on for years. About, I upgraded my computer, bought the expansion packs, got everything else, Sims related. And up until now, I mean, I still like the idea of Sims. I just don't like the newer Sims and how I wouldn't say microtransaction it is. It's just how lazy, I guess, the developers are now. It's a very cash grab nowadays, but I'm still appreciative of the older ones, 1, 2, and 3, just because of the idea of the Sims basically building your imagination. And to me, that'll always be something that will be close to my heart. So yeah. And with that, I think, the last influential game that I really had was GTA. Let's just say series, because all the GTA games were influential in essence. But the thing that really got me to appreciate GTA were 2 games specifically, which was San Andreas, or rather Vice City, and number 4. Even though San Andreas is one of my favorites, but the reason why Vice City was super influential because of the music. Well, besides the gameplay, of course, the music. Because the music itself was interesting. It was. I know I've been exposed to music a lot. This, it's like what I said earlier. It always goes back to music, video games, and music. Being exposed to music all my life, and kind of going back to my roots and appreciating classics made me appreciate GTA Vice City a lot. Because one of the things is that I do love, some Michael Jackson, a little bit of, what was that band? Not Alcatraz, but Ozzy. A little bit of Ozzy was really awesome. Yeah, because it wasn't his band anymore. It was actually just him doing a solo, the Bark at the Moon. It was really cool hearing that while driving around shooting people. Sounds really depraved, but yeah. Then of course, GTA 4 was very influential to me just because of how different it was from previous games and how vastly improved it was. Graphically, mechanically, it's just amazing to look. Story-wise, amazing. Still one of the best GTAs ever. I still prefer it over. I understand GTA 5 has a bigger map, you get to do a lot more things. Better music. I don't know. I wouldn't say better music, but better gameplay in general. But GTA 4 just takes the cake in terms of being what GTA is supposed to be, dark and gritty, and just being a really awesome open world type of game. So yeah. And nowadays, I don't really play as much GTA. I tend to play a lot more relaxing games, even sports games. I love basketball, so you see me buying the NBA 2K series a lot, but not all the time, just because I know how much of a cash grab it is, and I know how repetitive it's become. So yeah, so a lot of my games really now are just from Steam, and usually incremental, relaxing games like this. So yeah. And with that, I guess my taste for games will always expand depending on what my mood is. they'll always change over time, but those games that I played and loved as a child will never change. Those will forever be a part of my life. Those will be forever just the games that I can always revisit, that I always appreciate, and not feel dated to me. And I always appreciate that. So yeah. And with that, I guess that's my story about video games in general. You can get deeper into it, but I feel like, just being able to talk about my favorite games and why they were influential to me is really important. And how music and video games together really shaped who I am today. So yeah. If ever you're feeling down or you ever want to cheer yourself up, just remember all the good things you've experienced growing up, or even recently, especially if it's video games or music, something else, just to clear your mind. Remember to revisit those things. Just appreciate the little things in life. Because life isn't always going to be perfect. And we try to make sense out of things. If you're sad, you're sad. If you're happy, you're happy. Just live your life the way you want to live it. Just make sure that at the end of the day, stay true to yourself. That's all I can say. Alright. Anyways, pretty much it for today. So thank you so much. If you like this, feel free to like this video or subscribe. I'll do a couple more of these. And if ever, I can definitely tell you more stories about my life in general, or my thoughts about things. I know it could come off as condescending with me with a couple of my stories, or it may come off as, I guess, annoying at times. That's totally fine. I like to stay true to myself. It helps me. It helps me be myself. I'd rather be myself than someone else, totally different. And it helps me stay happy, in essence. So yeah. All right, that's pretty much it. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it somehow, some way. If you want me to play some more games, yeah, just let me know down in the comments. Other than that, thank you so much. See y'all later.